Hi, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Monday Morning Musing. I left you with a brief survey of how Matthew uses the word psuche for soul, and I want to finish with one thought, then we're going to move on to Mark. In Matthew 20:28, when it talks about Jesus giving up his life for us on the cross, guess what that word life is? Yeah, same story. Psuche. Jesus didn't just give up his immaterial, invisible, immortal part of his being for us. He gave his whole being. Psuche does not mean just that Platonic definition. He gave up his whole being for us, including his body, his soul, his mind, his will, his emotion, all of the totality. Psuche does not mean your invisible soul that goes to heaven. All right. How about Mark? Quick survey of Mark. Only 8 times is the word used in Mark. Only 8 times. You would think, again, in a typical gospel presentation, you'd be hammering on about getting your soul saved for 45 minutes. It's only used 8 times in Mark, and only translated as soul once. Every other translation is life. Now, here's an interesting one. In Mark 3, this is where Jesus is in controversy about healing on the Sabbath day. And Jesus is recorded to say it in Mark. It says, "Is it not lawful to save a life on the Sabbath day?" Two interesting things in this. Guess what word that is? Hello, same story, psuche. And he's referring to physical healing. So that thing that you think is referring to an invisible part of your tripart, your body, soul, and spirit, the invisible part is your soul. Jesus is recorded as using that word in relation to healing physically because they had an integrated, all inclusive view of a human being. So to make a person physically well in healing is to heal their soul or to give them life. Soul equals the entire being. So that's just a nugget from uh, Mark chapter 3. Another nugget in Mark where it talks about what good is it if a man gains the whole world and loses his soul? Again, if you go to a typical evangelistic meeting, they're going to talk about, your soul going to heaven or hell. But interestingly enough, in the Lucan version, in Luke chapter 9 of the same passage, the same phraseology, it's translated as life. And it means life. And the case can be made, I'm not going to get into the details of it today, but who gained the whole world at their time? Who initially gained the whole world? Alexander the Great. And he died at 33. That's what the passage is getting at. It's not about losing the invisible part of your being. What good is it if you gain everything in the world and you die? That's the point. Your being ceases to exist. So the thought on some commentators think that reference to Alexander the Great is in the background, and of course the same could be said for Caesar. What good is it if the Caesars, you gain the whole world and you die? And that fits in very well with the Jewish writings in the Psalms and Ecclesiastes and the Proverbs. And it is not talking about the invisible part of your body. It's talking about your whole being. So there you have it from Mark. Only 8 passages, 7 are translated life, only 1 translated soul, and it is not talking about the Platonic idea of an invisible part of your body. See you next time. We'll talk about Luke.